Hello, everybody. My name is Tina Louie with a Bookkeeper Online. Tonight, I'm going to give you a short little tutorial on using Intuit QuickBooks Enterprise Solutions version 2014. I am using the accountant version, so mine may look slightly different than yours. I'm going to close my company right here because I have it open. I want y'all to go down to Open Sample File, open the Sample Service-Based Business. You click on it, Sample Service-Based Business. Click through all those little buttons and open it up. Anything that's open here on the top for now, just exit out. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to Edit, Preferences. On the left-hand side of your Preferences tab, we're going to go to Payroll and Employees, Company Preferences. Make sure that Job Costing, Class and Item Tracking for Paycheck Expenses is checked. Assign one class per entire paycheck or earnings item. We're not going to really deal with classes tonight, but go ahead and check earnings item. And then scroll on down on the left-hand side to Sales and Customers. Under the My Preferences, make sure Prompt for Time Cost to Add is checked. Under the Company Preferences, go ahead and enable Price Levels. Let's scroll on down a little bit, all the way to the bottom, to Time and Expenses. Under Company Preferences, do you track time? Make sure Yes is checked. Under Invoicing Options, check Create Invoices from a list of time and expenses. Check Mark all expenses as billable. On the top, check Mark all time entries as billable. And then tell it OK. Let's go up to our list, Items List. I have already made the items that we're going to use tonight for this short little tutorial, but I'm going to walk you through it. Go down to Item, New. Make sure it's a service item. For the item name, we'll just make some new ones. For the item name, call it Labor Employee. This is going to be our master account. Notice some of these, there are going to be a whole lot of items in your sample company item list, but I have created some of mine for other tutorials that I have done. I like to have sub-accounts because it keeps this list much neater and much easier to find. So we're going to call this Labor Employee. We're going to leave everything else blank. You can put hour here for unit of measure. We're going to leave the price blank. We're going to go ahead. This side over here is always going to be your income account. I'm going to notice I have labor install. Type in installation because this is the type of labor that my employees do. Not actually. That's what they do in this sample company. If you don't have an installation income account made, let it go ahead and set up. Type it in there and make it an income account and tell it OK. I already have one done, so I'm going to click through and cancel mine. You're going to go down to Item, New Item. Make sure it's a service item. And this one you're going to name Helper. You're going to make this one a sub-item of Labor Employees. That's how you get the little indent that keeps it really neat down here. Unit of measure is going to be hour. We are going to not check this. If we were doing subcontractors where we wanted to get the expense side in and the income side in, then we would check this. But since with employees, you always use your payroll items, so you don't need this. So we're not going to check that. We're going to give the helper a rate of $40 an hour. We're going to make it non-taxable, and we're going to set it to installation income. And then we're going to tell it OK. You're going to go down to Item, New, another service item, and this one you're going to call Operator. You're going to make it a sub-item of Labor Employees. Unit of measure is hour. We're going to not check that. We're going to give this one a rate of $55 an hour, non-taxable, and again, type in installation, and you'll pick up your installation income account here. and then tell it OK. Let's do one more just for the sake. I like to have 3. Let's go to Item, New, Service Item. This one we're going to call Supervisor. We'll make it a sub-item of labor employee. Unit of measure is hour. We don't need this. We don't need the expense side because this is not for subcontractors. We're going to use this specifically for employees. Let's give this one a rate of 75 an hour. Make it non-taxable, and also make it to installation labor income. Now this could be to any income account that you like. This is just the one that I'm choosing to use for this tutorial. Then let's tell that OK. Let's close our item list for now. Let's go up to our employees, into our employee center. You are probably not going to have the same employees here. I've added a few for other tutorials. What you're going to do, if you already have your company set up, you're going to double click on every employee in that list. You're going to go down to payroll information, and you're going to ensure use time data to create paychecks is checked. That's very important. If this is not checked, it will not work. So you're going to click through each one of these, go to the payroll info tab, and make sure that it's checked. Again, make sure that it's checked. Now for this exercise, I always like to have a very clean time slate. So we're going to go up new employee, and we're going to make a new employee. We're going to call this one, let's call him Charles Watts. You would normally give a social security number. You'll give a gender. You'll get, I would fill out all of this information that you can. We're going to make him single. We're going to make him a U.S. citizen. We're going to say, yes, that's on file. We're going to say, no, he's not disabled. And no, he's not military. Just the very basics. We're going to click over to our payroll info. And we're going to put him on a bi-weekly pay schedule. Here is going to be our payroll items. And if you already have payroll, you're going to have this set up already. We're going to put regular pay. Let's just say he's a helper. Let's give him $15 an hour. Let's go down here and give him an overtime rate. And that automatically calculates for you. Very important again, make sure that you click use time data to create paychecks. If you don't have that checked, it will not work. When you get done with that, tell it OK. Let's go ahead and set it up now. Let's just make sure that all of our states and everything are in there. We're going to make this one Texas. Might as well just be authentic here. We're going to make this Texas. We're going to get rid of that. And we're going to tell it OK. Now, here we go. Tell it OK. Now we are going to go up. We can actually close this out. Remember that we're going to be working with Charles Watts. So let's close that out. Let's go to employee, enter time. Let's use a weekly timesheet. Let's start typing in Charles and bring up Charles Watts. We're going to go ahead and let this default to December 10th through 16th. Over here, because I like to have a clean customer slate, we're going to call this one A1 customer. Just call it test so we can find it easier. Click over. It's going to tell us that we don't have a customer. Let's just do a click add for now. On this service item, remember those items that we just picked up? Labor employee. We're going to pick up helper and say that he's a helper. On the payroll item, if that did not automatically come up, type in regular and it will pop up for you. On the notes here, you could put work order if you wanted to. Let's just do that, 1995. We're not going to worry with classes tonight. Let's give him, let's say, 2 hours here, 3 hours here, 4 hours here. And then let's go over and give it another customer. Let's call this one A2 customer test. We'll just do a quick add, and we're going to type that in again. Start typing in labor, choose helper, regular pay pops up, and we're going to leave the notes this time. And here we're going to give him 5 hours. We're going to give him 5 hours, and we're going to give him 4 hours. We'll give him 4 hours on Thursday and 4 hours on Friday. So he has a total of 31 hours. It is also very important to make sure billable is checked. Remember back in preferences where we checked mark all time as billable, mark all expenses as billable. This is what this did, but it's always important to make sure that it's checked. There may be a time when you don't want to bill the time, and you'll need to uncheck these if you don't want to bill the time to your customer. So go ahead and click it. He's got 31 hours. Let's save and close. Now let's go in and pay Charles. Let's go to employees, pay employees. Let's just do an unscheduled payroll because we only want to pay Charles. So there's Charles Watts. We're going to do a handwritten check. Just let it default to whatever number. Make the check date. Let's just make it 12/17/18. Let's click on Mr. Charles Watts here. His 31 hours comes up. Let's continue. Normally here, while we're doing a paycheck, I would open the paycheck details and look at it, make sure everything looked right, and I would save and close. And then we're going to create this paycheck, and then we're just going to close it because we're not really going to print anything. So now we have paid Charles. We've entered Charles's hours, and we have paid Charles. Now let's go up to our customers, create invoices. Let's type in the A1 customer test that we did. Look what pops up, the hours we put in for them. So we would check each one of these hours. Down here we can print the time. We can print selected time and cost as one invoice item, or we can go over to options and we can enter a separate line on the invoice for each activity. We can transfer the activity notes, transfer the item descriptions, transfer both notes and descriptions, or we can combine activities for the same service, item, and rate. Right now, we're just going to let it default how it does. We're going to have it broken down. So let's tell it OK. Now, if you'll notice what happened, when you entered his time, back when we entered time, you picked up all the expense, all of the hours for Charles that he worked. Then you paid him from those hours. That created your expense. Then you turned around and you went into invoice customer, and you invoiced for the time. And see the amount of money that we set into our items? It's picked it up perfectly. We could actually go in here and change these items if we realize that, you know what, he's a helper, but maybe he did something else different today for this client, and so we might want to change an item. But right now we're just going to save and close. We're going to go back into customers, create invoices, and we're going to type in, I think it was A2 customer test. Voila, same thing happens. We can check all of these, or we can click select all. Notice this tab is for the time. We entered this time. It was from a timesheet. If we had paid expenses from checks, they would be here. And here would be our markup if we wanted to mark them up. We had mileage that we wanted to charge to our customer. Or if we had items, the items would come from entering bills and paying bills, like from your vendors. If you order certain supplies or you order inventory, you have items. Here we're dealing strictly with time. We're going to let everything else default. We're going to bill our customer, and we're going to tell it save and close. Now we're going to go up to reports, jobs, time and mileage, job profitability summary. Let's click on that. Let's just change the date here from, let's call it 12/15 to 12, let's give it 20. wanted to narrow that down a little bit. See, here we have our customer A, our A1 customer test, and our A2 customer test that we just worked with. We have our actual cost. Notice this is a payroll check. It's all the same number. It's broken down according to the very taxes. This is our check for Charles Watts, a portion of the check, the portion of the check that was billed to this customer. There's the invoice broken down into those hours. And then over here is our difference. This is our net profit. We also see the same thing on the A2 customer test. We have the balance of Charles's paycheck. We have the invoice. And we have our difference, or our net profit. See how easy that was? It's actually very easy. You will need to be very careful if you delete paychecks. And that's a troubleshooting issue that I will cover in another tutorial. I hope this has been helpful for you tonight. And I'll see you again next week.